What if the one thing they crave the most is the very weapon you can use to break free? Ever wondered why your silence drives them more insane than your anger ever could? The most powerful thing you can do to a narcissist is nothing at all. If there's one thing a narcissist absolutely cannot live without, it's attention. Not love, not truth, not integrity, just attention. It's their oxygen, their fuel, their lifeline. Take it away, and they start to shrivel. Because to a narcissist, it doesn't matter if that attention is positive or negative. Praise them, they feel worshipped. Argue with them, they feel powerful. Even insult them, you're still giving them proof that they matter. As long as your emotions are tied to them, as long as they're occupying space in your mind, they're winning. And that's why the most effective way to dismantle a narcissist is not to confront them, not to expose them in a dramatic, final showdown, but simply to starve them. Imagine a stage actor basking in applause, feeding on the crowd's energy. Now imagine, one by one, the audience gets up and walks out. No boos, no cheers, just silence. That's what it feels like to a narcissist. When you stop reacting, it's not just frustrating, it's devastating. But they won't take it lightly. They'll do anything to lure you back, because they've mastered the art of provocation. Maybe they'll throw a backhanded compliment your way, just enough to trigger that insecurity they know you carry. Maybe they'll put on the charm, smother you with praise and false affection, drawing you in with sweet words like a spider spinning silk. Or maybe they'll go nuclear, twisting your reality, accusing you of absurd things, poking every bruise they can find, just to get a reaction. Because the moment you react, the moment you defend yourself, explain, argue, justify, you've lost. You've handed them exactly what they wanted. So how do you win? You starve them, with silence, with emotional neutrality, with absolute, unwavering indifference. A narcissist would rather you curse at them than ignore them, because cursing still means you care. But when you treat them like background noise, like a fly on the wall, like something insignificant and unworthy of your focus, they start to spiral. Their entire identity revolves around one thing: being noticed, being in control, being significant. Take that away, and all they're left with is themselves. And that, more than anything, is what they fear most. But don't be surprised when you stop feeding them. They start escalating. Rewritten, page 2, English version. When you stop feeding a narcissist with attention, you won't see them vanish quietly into the background. They escalate, they adapt, they attack subtly, strategically. At first, they may play it cool. Oh, silent treatment? That's cute. They might sneer. They'll act like they don't care, like your distance is amusing, irrelevant. But make no mistake, inside, it's eating them alive. They can't stand not being the center of your emotional world. So, they turn up the volume. They'll pick fights over nothing. They'll bait you with sarcastic jabs, snide comments, or emotional guilt traps. They may even flip the script entirely, suddenly becoming the victim. You've changed. You don't care about me anymore. I guess I was never enough for you. And when you hear those words, that's how you know it's working. But here's the trap. Consistency is everything. If you go silent for one day, but then react the next time they throw a dramatic fit, you've given them hope. Hope that there's still a way in. Hope that somewhere, somehow, they still matter to you. That hope is their opening. And if you break your silence, even just once, if you explain yourself, justify, argue, or defend, you've just handed them the power again. That's all they need. Not love, not logic, not honesty, just proof that they can still get under your skin. But when you stay firm, when your silence isn't temporary but principled, when you show, over and over, that their chaos no longer has access to your peace, then the narcissist is left with one terrifying truth. They've lost control, and eventually, they'll have no choice but to search for a new source of supply. Someone else to charm, someone else to confuse, someone else to control. And that's when you win, because a narcissist's entire world is built on illusion. They construct a persona, a highly polished, curated image, designed to manipulate everyone around them. They tell stories, grand stories, about their achievements, their suffering, their brilliance, and for a while, it works. People believe them. People fall for the confidence, the charm, the carefully timed sob stories that make you feel indebted, emotionally obligated to care. But here's the truth they desperately try to hide. Deep down, they know it's all a lie. They know that if people could see behind the curtain, see who they really are, the whole act would fall apart. That's why being exposed is their greatest fear. Because narcissists don't just lie to others. They lie to themselves. They rewrite history to suit whatever role benefits them. One day they're the hero, the savior, the martyr, the one who always gave more than they received. The next, they're the victim, unfairly treated, constantly misunderstood. But the motive behind every story is the same. Control. Control over how the world sees them. Control over how they see themselves. And above all, control over you. Because if they can distort the truth, they can distort your entire reality. But the moment you shine light on the cracks, the moment you calmly and confidently call out the contradiction, something shifts. At first, they'll deflect, they'll laugh, roll their eyes. Oh, you misunderstood me. That's not what I meant. And then, they'll try to flip it back on you. Rewritten, PAGE 3 English version. When you start calling out their inconsistencies, you'll see something rare, something revealing. The mask begins to slip. Watch their face. If you're paying attention, you might catch a flicker of something they never intended you to see. A flash of panic, a flicker of rage, a moment of vulnerability, before they quickly regroup and try to regain control. Because in that exact moment, they realize the most terrifying truth of all. You see them, not the polished image, not the persona. You see who they really are. And that scares them more than anything. But don't expect a confession. They'll never say, "You're right, you caught me." That's not how narcissists operate. Instead, they'll spiral, they'll deflect, distort, and deceive. They'll gaslight you, make you doubt what you clearly saw and felt. They'll twist the narrative so fast. Suddenly, you're the problem, you're the liar, you're the manipulator, you're the unstable one. It's all a desperate scramble to protect the illusion they built like armor. But here's what you must remember. You don't have to convince them of the truth. You don't have to argue. You don't have to defend your version of reality. You don't have to play their game. Because your power isn't in making them admit it. Your power is in knowing it for yourself. When you stop second-guessing, when you stop letting their lies override your instincts, when you anchor yourself in truth, they lose their grip, because the only way they ever controlled you was by reshaping your version of reality. And the best part? Once you see them clearly, you can never unsee it. And neither can they. They know you've seen behind the curtain. And from that point on, their manipulation has a time limit. You see, a narcissist's greatest thrill isn't love or connection. It's control. Control over what you think, how you feel, how you react. They push, they pull, they prod, always scanning for cracks in your armor, looking for weak spots where they can wedge themselves in. At first, it feels innocent. A harmless comment here, a passive-aggressive jab there, a suggestion masked as concern. I'm just trying to help. I know what's best for you. Why are you being so difficult? Before long, you're adjusting your tone, your choices, your entire identity, just to keep the peace, just to avoid the next emotional storm. And that's exactly where they want you. Manageable, moldable, dependent, right under their thumb. But there's one force that can shatter that control completely. Boundaries. A clear, firm, non-negotiable boundary is like a fortress they can't penetrate, a line they can't cross, a lock they can't pick. It says, this is where I end, and you do not get to enter. And nothing infuriates a narcissist more than realizing they no longer have unrestricted access to you. But don't expect them to respect it. The moment you establish a boundary, they'll begin testing it. They'll push, they'll poke, they'll press again and again, just waiting for that one moment of weakness. And it won't always be loud or obvious. Sometimes it's subtle, calculated. They might bring up a topic you ask them not to. They might accidentally show up somewhere you're at. They'll play innocent, but every move is a test. Rewritten, page 4 English version. Sometimes it starts with something subtle. Maybe they casually dismiss your boundary. Oh come on, you didn't really mean that. And that, right there, is where most people make the fatal mistake. They laugh it off. They let it slide just this once. They make excuses. It's not worth the fight. Maybe I was too harsh. They didn't mean anything by it. But here's the truth. Narcissists are always watching, always keeping score. The moment you bend, even just a little, they don't hear, just this once. They hear, I can get away with this. And that, to them, is an open door. That's why the secret to setting boundaries with a narcissist is unwavering consistency. No long explanations. No endless debates. No justifications trying to make him see your side. Just a clear, calm, direct line, followed by firm action. I won't discuss this. I will not tolerate being spoken to like that. If you do this again, I will leave. And then, you follow through. Every single time. Because a boundary without consequences isn't a boundary at all. It's just a suggestion. And narcissists don't respect suggestions. They exploit them. Now here's what happens next. Once they realize you're serious, they escalate. At first, they'll try guilt. I can't believe you're treating me like this. After everything I've done for you, then they'll provoke you. They'll say something outrageous, enough to make you angry, to bait you into reacting. Because to them, any reaction is better than silence. And if that doesn't work, they'll retreat into victimhood. I guess I'm just a terrible person. Maybe you never loved me to begin with. But don't fall for it. It's not remorse. It's not vulnerability. It's manipulation in disguise. It's one more attempt to wear you down, make you second-guess yourself, convince you that maybe, just maybe, you're the one in the wrong. But if you hold the line, if you refuse to move, no matter how they twist, plead, or explode, something powerful begins to happen. They lose control. And when a narcissist can no longer control you, they begin to lose interest in you. Because without control, they have nothing. You see, their entire identity isn't just built around manipulating situations. It's about manipulating people. They don't just want you to do what they want. They want to control how you feel. They want access to your emotional dashboard. They want to press buttons and pull levers until your reactions belong to them. It was never about logic, never about truth, always about power. And the quickest way to hand them that power? React. Get angry. Get defensive. Try to prove your point. It doesn't matter how you respond, as long as you do. Because the moment you react, you've stepped onto their game board. They say things on purpose. Things calibrated to trigger. A snide remark hidden in a compliment. Wow, you actually look nice today. Or a joke aimed at your deepest insecurity. Relax. I was just kidding. Sometimes it's not even subtle. It's an outright lie. So ridiculous. So offensive. You can't believe they had the audacity to say it. The trap is simple. The moment you respond, they win. Because now, you're back in their world. A world where logic doesn't exist. Where the rules bend and break, whenever it benefits them. But there's one thing a narcissist cannot handle. One weapon they have no defense against. Indifference. Not anger. Not rage. Not tears. Just nothing. No emotion. No engagement. Just a calm, steady, unbothered silence. And that silence? It drives them insane. When you don't react, when you refuse to bite the bait, you send a message louder than any argument could ever deliver. You have no power here. At first, they won't believe it. They'll push harder. They'll raise the stakes. If provoking didn't work, maybe guilt will. If guilt fails, they'll play the victim. I guess I'm just a horrible person. You've changed. You don't even care anymore. And if that doesn't work, they'll switch tactics again. They'll love bomb you. They'll try kindness, charm, flattery, anything to hook you, to lure you back, to regain the control they've lost. But if you stay steady, if you remain rooted in calm, grounded in truth, untouched by their chaos, something begins to shift. They realize, slowly and painfully, that the strings they once pulled no longer move you. And that's when frustration creeps in. That's when they start unraveling. Because a narcissist without control is like a magician whose tricks have been exposed. Suddenly, they're no longer mysterious, no longer powerful, no longer in command. And worse, they know it. And when nothing they do can get a rise out of you, they begin to lose interest. Because without your emotional reactions, without your energy to feed off of, they're starving. You see, what tortures a narcissist the most is not being ignored. It's watching you thrive. Without them, it's their worst nightmare come true. Watching you smile, build, heal, and grow into someone stronger, while they fade into the background. Because in their mind, they were always the main character, the reason behind your success, the one you could never live without. They need to believe that you're lost without them, that without their presence, you'll stumble, fall, come crawling back. But the moment they see that not only are you surviving, you're flourishing, that's when their real suffering begins. At first, they won't believe it. They'll tell themselves it's a show, a performance designed to get their attention. They'll whisper, they're faking it, they'll fall apart soon enough. And so, they wait, they watch, they look for signs that you're cracking. For that moment they can swoop in again, to prove you still need them. But when the days turn into weeks, and the weeks into months, and you still haven't looked back, reality starts to set in. That's when it hits them. You're not pretending, you're free, and you're not coming back. And in that realization, the panic begins. They may test the waters. A casual message, a vague attempt at connection. Sometimes they'll test the waters with a soft approach. Something innocent, a casual, vague message. Hey, hope you're doing well. Or maybe they'll try to awaken nostalgia. Remember that trip? I saw something today that reminded me of you. Hoping, just hoping, that memories will blur your boundaries and drag you back into their orbit. And if that doesn't work, they'll change tactics again. They might start a rumor, create chaos, stir drama, anything to provoke you, to get a reaction, to prove they still matter. But here's where it all changes. The moment you don't respond, not at all, you deliver a blow they'll never admit stings. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Narcissists don't just crave control over your past. They want control over your future. They want to believe that even in their absence, they still occupy space in your thoughts. That when you laugh, somewhere in the back of your mind, you're wondering how they'd react. That when you win, a part of you wishes they could see. That even your joy is somehow still tied to them. But when that connection is gone, when your happiness, your laughter, your success, your peace, has absolutely nothing to do with them, they realize they've truly lost. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to do anything dramatic to prove it. You don't need a social media post declaring your healing journey. You don't need to flaunt your peace. You don't even need to talk about them. Just live, just breathe, just be, completely detached from their influence. And that haunts them more than anything ever could. Because narcissists spend their entire lives playing mind games. They twist reality, bend people, pull strings, and manipulate not because they need to, but because they enjoy it. It's a game, a performance. They're proof to themselves that they are always in control. They believe they're always 3 steps ahead, that they can rewrite any story, that they can pull any emotion they want from anyone around them, anytime. But what happens when you flip the script? What happens when you use silence as your weapon? What happens when you refuse to engage? But not out of fear, out of strength? At first, they don't notice. They assume you're still under their spell, still tangled in their web, still playing the role they cast for you. But slowly, bit by bit, the cracks start to show. You begin to mirror them, subtly, quietly, almost without effort. They try guilt, you remain unmoved. They try gaslighting, you act like you don't even understand. They try insults wrapped in charm, you laugh like you didn't even catch the punchline. And suddenly, they're the ones feeling off balance. Because narcissists are used to being the puppet master, not the puppet. They're used to setting the emotional thermostat. In every room they enter, narcissists are used to holding the emotional remote control. They decide when others feel joy, when others feel pain, when to inject doubt, and when to twist words just enough to make you question your own reality. But something incredible happens when you stop reacting the way they expect, when you flip the game, when you quietly, subtly, start using their own tactics back on them. They tell a lie, fully expecting the usual reaction: defensiveness, arguments, maybe even tears. But instead of fighting, you look through them as if nothing was said. No response, no validation, no explanation. And that unnerves them. They try to provoke you, push all the usual buttons. But instead of fire, they're met with ice. You remain unsettlingly calm, unshaken, still. They fish for praise, reach for admiration, or throw out bait for reassurance. And you give them nothing. No reaction, no applause, no emotional supply. And that's when the unraveling begins. Because here's their fatal weakness: uncertainty. Narcissists thrive on predictability. They rely on patterns. They need to know exactly how you'll respond to every word, every gesture, every tactic they've polished over years. They study you, they test you, and they learn the script of your emotions like a master manipulator memorizes a performance. But when you become unreadable, when you break the pattern, their power starts to collapse. The more uncertain they feel, the more unstable they become. Because for a narcissist, not knowing how to control you is like losing oxygen. And the best part? You don't have to become cruel. You don't have to play dirty. You don't even need to raise your voice. All you have to do is refuse to deliver what they expect. No reaction, no explanation, no emotional feed. Because the truth is, a narcissist's greatest weakness isn't rage, it isn't exposure, it isn't confrontation, it's confusion. Leave them standing in silence, unsure, off balance, powerless, while drowning in their own tactics. That's the moment they realize they've lost the one thing they thought they'd always have: control over you. In the end, the greatest victory you can ever have over a narcissist is not revenge. It's not proving them wrong. It's not even exposing them for who they are. It's living free of them. Living in truth, in strength, in peace, without needing to look back. Because when you no longer react, when you no longer seek their approval, when your emotions, your energy, your life are no longer tied to their presence, you've already won. They want you stuck in the cycle. They want you chasing closure, explaining yourself, justifying your peace. But healing doesn't require their permission. Your freedom isn't something they can bargain with. It's already yours, the moment you stop playing their game. So walk away, not out of fear, but out of clarity. Not to hurt them, but to honor yourself. Because your silence, your joy, your peace, they speak louder than anything you could ever say. You don't owe them a war. You don't owe them a single word. Just your absence, and your unapologetic healing. If this message spoke to your soul, if you found truth, strength, or peace in what you heard today, don't keep it to yourself. Bell subscribe to this channel, Dr. G_check_official journey success. Thumbs up, like the video. Loudspeaker, share it with someone who needs to hear this. And remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Just live, and let that be your answer.